Hello, I am Joshua P. Warren, and this is Joshua P. Warren Daily. And actually, this is officially the last Joshua P. Warren Daily, and that's because I am the host of the new show, Strange Things, on the iHeartMedia and Coast to Coast AM Paranormal Podcast Network. This is the big announcement that I have been hinting at and teasing for a long time, and I'm going to explain everything to you in this podcast. Now, let me say right up front, however, that does not mean that you unsubscribe or stop following or whatever Joshua P. Warren Daily, because I am still going to be using this podcast occasionally for in-depth special reports or behind-the-scenes programs, things that you will come out occasionally and when needed. But so make sure you keep your subscription to Joshua P. Warren Daily. But aside from that, my new focus is this new show, because I signed an exclusivity agreement saying that I will only do one show, and that show is Strange Things. You can listen to the first one right now if you go to strangethingshow.com. strangethingshow.com. In fact, the first one is The Secret to Conjure Whatever You Want. Use it wisely. And do you have the alien DNA? Okay, let me tell you how all this came about and what this means and sort of what the changes are in terms of how this new podcast is set up. It's really not as different as you might think. It's just more refined and more consistent. So, a long time ago, decades ago, when I was listening to Art Bell, he inspired me like so many other people. Listening to him on Coast to Coast AM at night, the comfortable, warm, curious sort of atmosphere he created around that whole show was mesmerizing to me. As a matter of fact, on my way back from Death Valley recently, I stopped at the Pahrump Valley Museum, and they have a painting on the wall there of Art and Ramona Bell's triangular UFO sighting in 1994. Art actually donated that painting to the museum. And if you'd like to see Art and Ramona standing there looking up at this gigantic triangular UFO, go to my Twitter feed at Joshua P. Warren, and you'll find it there. By the way, I remember distinctly Art Bell being interviewed on, I think it was an ABC News special report a long time ago, in which Art told on camera about his experience seeing this thing, and I cannot for the life of me find a recording of that program. So if any of you know where I can see that, hopefully it's not one of those Mandela effect things like that that existed in a parallel timeline. If you know how to see that, or you have a copy or access, please email me and let me know. JoshuaPWarren.com is where you'll find my email address. So anyway, Art, obviously, he was a big inspiration. And 20 some years ago, Art interviewed me for the first time. And that was the beginning of this wonderful relationship that I've had with everyone at Coast to Coast AM. And, Coast to Coast AM it's the number one, it's the top rated radio program, certainly in America, I'm presuming the entire world. Everybody, hundreds and hundreds, like well over 600 stations carry Coast to Coast AM. And it's distributed, so to speak, by Premier Radio Networks, which is owned by iHeartMedia, which used to be Clear Channel. And so over the years, not only have I had a great relationship with Coast to Coast AM and the people at Premier, but I also, for a while, many years, I was a radio host at News Radio 570 WWNC in Asheville, North Carolina, which also was, I should say it was a Clear Channel station, and now it is an iHeart station. So anyway, I've had a lot of different connections with this company is what I'm trying to say. But over the past 20 years, I have worked with George Noory and Tom Danheiser on so many different projects. Every type of project you can imagine. Okay, whether it's radio-based or television, like we actually did a TV show on the Sci-Fi Channel together. Of course, I've been on his show Beyond Belief numerous times. We've done all kinds of live events together on stage at various parts of the country. We have worked together on experiments, bringing down UFOs. I've done everything you can do with these guys. And they've always just been really fantastic, wonderful. I can't say enough good stuff, okay, about George Noory and Tom Danheiser and Lisa Lyon, and I'm telling you, everybody there at Premier Radio Networks. And so they hold a special place in my heart. And since I've been doing this podcast, Joshua P. Warren Daily, I have fiercely guarded my independence. And that means that I have had numerous podcast companies contact me and say, we want you to come and join up with our podcast network. And I say, thanks, but no thanks. I don't even listen to their offer. Seriously, I don't even listen to it. I just say, nope, whatever you're going to offer is not going to be worth me giving up my 100% independence to get on this microphone and cuss if I want to, or make it as long or as short as I want to, or do it. I can do a podcast 5 times a day if I want to, that's a wonderful flexibility to have. So I've never entertained any of these offers. But then a few months ago, I was at a business meeting here in Las Vegas, and I got a call from Tom Danheiser, George Noory's producer there. He's a senior producer there at Premier. And Tom said, Josh, I've got some good news. He said that iHeart and Premier have been working with him and his staff, and they had decided to create the Coast to Coast AM Paranormal Podcast Network. And they wanted me to be one of their first hosts. And immediately the light bulb went off, and I thought, what a kick-ass idea this is. Because, the thing about Coast to Coast AM, a lot of people don't even listen to it live, because if you're on the East Coast, for example, it doesn't come on till 1 a.m. And a lot of people, as you know, are sleeping from 1 to 5 in the morning. And so a lot of people are already listening to Coast AM as a podcast. So it makes sense to build upon that, the people who are into podcasting. And so I said, man, this sounds amazing. And he said, how would you like to do a show? And the first name he came up with was, how would you like to do a show called All Things Strange? And he says, you can just talk about whatever you want, basically, as long as it's strange, and that's not a problem for you, Josh. And I said, yeah, I think I love it. I used to host a show I created called Speaking of Strange. And that was inspired by a book I wrote a long time ago called Speaking of Strange. So strange is a word that's followed me my whole life, and I love it. I'm the one who promotes that. The Wizard of Weird. And so that, of course, we started talking about it and hashing it out. And eventually, Tom said, why don't we just call it Strange Things? I said, perfect. That works for me. And so this has been a process of sort of me integrating what I do, what I've been doing off the cuff now for a few years, into a bigger system where I'm part of a network. And so what that means is I'm actually very, very comforted by how all this is working out. The reason is my life is pretty erratic because 'cause I'm working on all these different projects and I'm up and down at different times of the day. And so one of the cool things about Joshua P. Warren Daily was that, well, whenever I have a moment, I can leave something and, hit the upload button and boom, it's out there. But also I found that there were times when I missed having the ability to give people a certain answer when they say, when is a new one coming out? Because somebody would ask me, when's the next one going to be airing? And I would say, I might record one the day after tomorrow or something. And you actually do lose a lot of people if you don't have some kind of consistency. So one of the things about doing this new show is I had to, again, agree this would be the only thing that I would do, but this allows me to focus on it 100%, and it will be consistent. You will have a new show from me every Friday. You can bet on that. Once a week, you're going to have a new show from me. The show will last approximately 1 hour. You're going to have at least 1 hour of content plus commercials. This will have commercials in it. So altogether, I think it's going to come out to usually like maybe an hour and 6 or 7 minutes, something like that with the commercials. And what's cool about a podcast, it's free. And yes, there are commercials, but if you don't want to listen to the commercials, you don't have to. I mean, you can just sort of skip right over the commercials. You know how that goes. So this is going to be a consistent, solid 1 hour of nothing but content once a week, every Friday. No, I can't cuss. But like I was telling you, my mom's happy about that. And that's, really though, that's not hard for me. Most of the time I actually don't cuss, but I just have to make sure. And, and it's also pre-recorded. So if I say something I don't like, I can go back and edit it. So that's kind of cool also. But they have given me carte blanche to talk about whatever I want to talk about. And when I signed the paperwork on this, I was like, okay, that's what it says. But let's see if they're going to go back on their word and say, well, you know what? Now that we've listened to this, why don't you not talk about this? But it turns out I've already recorded the first few of these, and they listened and said, we love it. They didn't change a thing. And that shows me how great this show is going to continue to be. Also, it's got music. This show requires bumper music. So guess what I did? I composed my own bumper music. So when you listen to this show, at least the very first one, everything you're going to hear, I composed, except for one piece of music, which was composed by John E. L. Tenney. And I think it's called A Dream of Richard, about Richard Schaefer. And so you know what? I'm going to have John E. L. Tenney on my new podcast, and I'm going to interview him. If you don't know who he is, what an interesting man. Let me tell you, he's one of those guys. I feel like I could hook up with John E. L. Tenney and, spend a few days in the desert and write a new Fear and Loathing book. He's that kind of guy. All right. Fascinating dude. So, but anyway, all the other music I composed. And I'm going to gradually be introducing new pieces of bumper music that I compose as it goes on. So that's another kind of cool, creative outlet for me. It's something that I think that you'll enjoy. But I can talk about anything. However, because that, it's called Strange Things, and I do have like 4 15-minute segments of content. It's also helping me to be more focused on the meat of my content. So I'm going to be even more focused on magic, manifestation, ghosts, UFOs, monsters, ESP. I'm going to be giving you experiments that you can do at home and breaking news from the field and all that kind of stuff. You're going to consistently get this. And one of the wonderful things about this is I have a big, big audience all over the world right now that listens to Joshua P. Warren Daily. And yet every single week I get maybe 10 emails from people who say, I just discovered Joshua P. Warren Daily, and I'm just now learning about wishing machines, and I'm just now learning about sigils and all this kind of stuff, and they're really excited. So, new people are learning about you all the time. This is going to be promoted by iHeartMedia with millions of ads on the radio, on terrestrial radio, and on the internet. Millions. That's not an exaggeration. It says in the contract how many millions. And let me tell you, it's a big, big number. Millions and millions of ads are going to be all over the place for this. So when you are reaching, when all of a sudden you go from, I don't know how many people listen exactly to this show right now, to be honest with you. But if you take that and you add that to it, if you put that fuel on the fire, if you enjoy the stuff that I talk about, if you find it beneficial, if you find it interesting, if you find it enriches your life, think about how much we can help the world right now if more people start thinking about these things, if more people become inspired to start manifesting a better life, to think more positively, to organize some of the chaos that the rest of the mainstream media is shoving down your throat all the time, right? Something like this, all these new millions of people who've never heard any of this stuff are going to be introduced because of all these new ads. Our audience is going to become almost unimaginably huge. And then that in turn creates opportunities for me to do things that I haven't done. New scientists who want to invite me into the laboratory to work on an experiment. New access to hot spots where paranormal activity is happening so that I can go there and report it to you. New people who can participate in various experiments. And I'm really going to take advantage of that and make this an extremely interactive show. And, I could just go on and on about all my ideas, but I'd rather, instead of tell you about all the great things I'm going to do, I'd rather just do them and show them to you. And you know what? The podcast, just like this one, it's free. It's free. Okay. It's all over the place. iHeart, Apple, Spotify, all those places. And right now, if you search for Strange Things, it may not come up in all of those search engines because it's brand new. This was announced hours ago when I was on Coast to Coast AM. And so while instead of waiting for it to propagate and find it in all the searches, you can just go to strangethingshow.com, strangethingshow.com, and it'll take you straight to the iHeart posting, and you can listen to it that way. Now, here is what I want to talk especially to you about as somebody who listens to this podcast, Joshua P. Warren Daily. Because that I am going to be reaching so many new people, okay? People who've never heard the stuff that I talk about. Maybe they've heard me interviewed somewhere, but they've never heard me as a host where I control the content. I have to go over some of the stuff that you probably have already heard, right? So stuff that is going to be brand new and eye-opening to somebody who's never heard me before is stuff that's already going to be familiar to you. So some of my new content, especially here as I'm getting this new podcast launched, is going to come across as redundant. So, for example, in this first one, I'm talking about the secret to conjure whatever you want. You probably know a lot of these tips. I talk about minions. You probably know the tips about minions. You may have listened to me do a podcast before about alien DNA. Some of this stuff may seem like, okay, well, I've already heard that before. But you know what? It's actually still good to listen to it again, because everybody needs a refresher once in a while. That's one of the keys to having a deep understanding of anything, is refreshing yourself, keeping in practice. And so even though some of the things that I talk about may be things that you've already heard me talk about as a listener of Joshua P. Warren Daily, it's good to listen to them again because I've learned more about these things since I originally presented them. So you're going to get a deeper, clearer, more distinctive level of information and detail about these things. And so hopefully, you'll bear with me a little bit. If some of it seems like I'm just repeating myself, it's only because I'm doing that for the new listeners of the new podcast and to give all of you, and even me for that matter, a nice refresher on some of this. So please be understanding. What I've done is I've gone back and I've looked at a lot of the podcasts that I've done, over 500 of them over the past 3 years, and I have seen what some of the most popular ones are. And I'm using that as part of my guideline for how to, get things rolling with the new one. So basically, here's the bottom line. Every Friday, there's going to be a new Strange Things with Joshua P. Warren. And I want you to go there and listen to it. It's free. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to log in. You go there, you hit the button, you listen to it. I want you to then leave a comment, a great comment, and I want you to share it with all your friends because the bigger the audience, the more exciting, kick-ass stuff we're going to be able to do, the more we're going to learn, the more experiments we can get involved with, and the more we will be able to get out there and work together and hopefully change the world for the better. StrangeThingsShow.com. Go listen right now. Tell everybody about it. And keep your subscription to Joshua P. Warren Daily because, again, I'll be using this occasionally for special reports, more in-depth stuff, behind-the-scenes stuff. And, when I do a Strange Things, I record it, and then I have to send it to the company, and they have a team that goes through and packages it so that it can get posted with all the right information and they can get the ads together and all that, and that takes some time. So if I need to get something to you instantly, the only way I can do that is to sit down. I have a studio right here at my house. I can sit down, I can talk, and I can go, boom, upload, and instantly send out stuff to the Joshua P. Warren Daily feed. So that's why I will use that feed for special reports on special occasions. But if you want to hear me from now on, you've got to go to StrangeThingsShow.com. And things is plural, StrangeThingsShow.com. So share it with everybody. Go to my website, JoshuaPWarren.com. Be sure you are a subscriber to my free e-newsletter because listen to this. Next week, when the new Strange Things comes out, I am going to send an e-newsletter to all of you who subscribe that is going to give you some free information. I could have sold this information for a lot of money, but I'm giving it away for free to help properly get this show launched. And this is information that will help you see the spirit realm. And so if you want that information, there's only one way to get it. You've got to go to JoshuaPWarren.com. Takes 2 seconds. Sign up for my free e-newsletter there. And I'm going to be giving away a lot more free stuff to the subscribers of my e-newsletter. But that's the only way you can get it. So what can I say? This is exciting. I'm kind of overwhelmed. But a new journey has begun. So I can talk about whatever I want to talk about. And now it's such an honor to have my name there as a host under the banner of the great Coast to Coast AM. So thank you, Art Bell. Thank you, George Norrie. Thank you, Tom Danheiser. Thank you, Lisa Lyon. Thank you, everybody at Premiere. Thank you to everybody at iHeart. This is a big new chapter, and I'm telling you, exciting things are going to come. You just wait. I'm going to do some crazy stuff with this new podcast. So subscribe to it, follow, do whatever you do, share it with everybody. Let's get this thing big. Let's have some fun. So thank you for being a listener of Joshua P. Warren Daily. Now the party's moving next door to Strange Things, strangethingshow.com. That said, thank you for listening. Thank you for your interest and support. Thank you for staying curious. And I will talk to you again soon.